it has been amazing to see an ally in Congress, Ted Cruz, being attacked for being for amnesty. I was here. I mean, I was thrilled when Ted Cruz got elected. I'd known him. I knew he was brilliant. I knew he was truthful. And so I was thrilled. And a number of us would meet, sometimes at his office, sometimes other places, trying to strategize. How do we stop the Republican establishment's caving in and doing the will of the administration to allow a massive amnesty? We knew the administration was not enforcing the border properly. We knew that they were allowing people in droves, and the more came in illegally, the more others heard. You can come in illegally, and as one of the Border Patrolmen told me in the wee hours of the morning, called logistics by the drug cartels and the gangs in Mexico. All they say they have to do is get people across the river, and Homeland Security's logistics, we ship them anywhere they want to go. And there's a great deal of truth to that. So it's been amazing to see this reinvention of what really happened back in those days. And we had a fantastic election in Florida where our friend was elected there, Tea Party favorite. Thank goodness. We were so thrilled because it meant, because of his promises, we had another ally in the Senate that would help us stop the Republican establishment's cave to the Obama administration's desire for amnesty. And Chuck Schumer, for all he is, he actually can be quite persuasive. And John McCain, for all his efforts, 2007, that nearly cost him the chance to be the nominee so he could lose in defeat to the Democrats. His push for amnesty in 2007 nearly kept him from being the nominee to lose in the general election. Gosh, if it hadn't been for his, if he had continued to push his amnesty, he would not have gotten the nomination. And who knows, maybe Barack Obama would not have won in 2008. It's interesting to think about. But I was looking at this article by Sarah Rump back in January of 2015, and she had been asking about problems that I had, and I pointed out, I referred back to broken promises by our speaker and why we needed a new speaker, and it was the same Republican establishment problem we had. And the article says one of the biggest broken promises included promising to fight tooth and nail against Obama's executive amnesty orders, then allowing the omnibus bill to proceed forward. But it wasn't just that. It was so much that had been going on for a number of years. So there was no one who felt more dejected than our little group that was gathering regularly, trying to come up with ways to slow down the Gang of Eight bill, because we knew that once this handsome, young, articulate guy that had just been elected from Florida was talked into being the leader on the bill, very clever getting him to be the leader on the bill, we knew it was going to be a very, very, very difficult thing to stop. Going back, here's an article from April 15th of 2013 by Byron York, talking as a Washington Examiner, a look deep inside the Gang of Eight bill and how they'll sell immigration reform to conservatives. And he points out that this Gang of Eight bill says, of course, some in the GOP are still panicked by last November's election results and inclined to sign on to almost any deal. But more conservative Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill will have to be convinced that the gang's proposal is an acceptable way to go, and it won't be easy. Anyway, he points out that startling this week with the release of the bill, the Gang of Eight, or gang, will launch an extensive public information campaign with, Senator Rubio leading. Lots of press releases, frequently asked questions, and fact sheets specifically addressing the concerns about reform that conservatives have raised in recent months. It also talks about the GOP gang of Eight, talking about, members know full well the federal government has promised all these measures and more, and the border is still not secure. Businesses still hire illegal immigrants. For example, Congress passed multiple laws requiring entry-exit systems similar to what the gang has proposed. And the system has never been built. So gang members know that conservatives, at least, will be skeptical. The answer the Gang of Eight hopes will reassure those skeptics is the concept of triggers. They've set up points at which the bill's requirements will have to meet before the process of amnesty, is what he's talking about, will continue. But anyway, it goes on and discusses the Gang of Eight bill. Americans had heard these promises before, going back to 1986, when a hero of mine, a hero of my friend Dana Rohrabacher, who was a former speechwriter, he got talked into signing off on an amnesty that turned California blue probably for the rest of my lifetime. That was a Republican president that got tricked into doing that. Got the amnesty, never got the enforcement. And that's what the Gang of Eight bill was going to do, and Americans knew it, but we had to fight it like crazy. So anyway, I just find it interesting as someone who met with Senator Cruz on a regular basis trying to strategize. My friend Steve King, we met in his office sometimes. But all of these efforts to stop this Gang of Eight bill that would have given amnesty. There's another from June 11th, 2013, Gang of Eight immigration bill clears the Senate hurdle. And I know Senator Cruz was doing all he could to stop it. Greatly appreciated. And actually, if they hadn't slowed that down, that gave us the ability to slow it down even further. But here's an article from the Daily Signal. Amy Payne, Kelsey Lucas, June 24th, my anniversary of 2013. And it talked about that bill now has ballooned to 1,190 pages. That makes it what you'd call comprehensive. And as I've pointed out to friends before, when you hear the word comprehensive bill, the loose definition of a comprehensive bill in Congress is one in which some people want to hide things that could never possibly get passed if people knew what they were voting on. So it's comprehensive and massive, so you can hide those things that could never pass on their own if people knew what they were voting on. So it's amazing to see in politics how perception that is completely false can be considered true just because people are saying it. Well, I know I was here, and I am grateful that Ted Cruz got elected without him, without his advice, his meeting with us, encouraging, doing all he could in the Senate. I don't believe we would have stopped amnesty, and I don't believe this election would even be competitive. The Democratic nominee would walk away with this thing had the Gang of Eight bill been passed as they